Welcome back. We will continue from where we left off in the last episode. Hope you enjoy the show.
So the next question is on the entrepreneurship scene in Dubai, sir. How is it, given that you are working in a startup, you might have some information. Is there funding from the government? Generally, is there a culture there where more companies are promoted?
Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't done a lot of research, but I can share some observations. So one of the observation is that I do see a lot of co-founders here in Dubai, a lot more than what I used to see in Singapore. Yeah, a lot more than what I used to see in India, actually. तो co-founders वगैरह काफी यहाँ पे मिलते हैं, probably because there are very low barriers to entry. I think there is an entrepreneurship visa as well in Dubai, if I'm not wrong, which you can take and that grants you some sort of residency. Or I think that's one of the criteria for golden visa as well, which is kind of equivalent to Singapore PR in UAE. So I think in answer to your question, I just have that observation that I do see a lot of them in Dubai. The other observation that I have is that it's from one of the VCs actually, one of the angel investor in Dubai that ये सिर्फ बाहर से ही लग रहा है हमें कि is encouraging people to start, but जब आप actually में register करने जाते हो तो वहाँ पे काफी barriers face करने को मिलते हैं.
Okay.
So I've heard like mixed observations around entrepreneurship, but I do feel कि यहाँ पे कुछ taxation वगैरह है नहीं, so there should be low barriers to entry in terms of starting something out here. There are a lot of free zones in Dubai, जहाँ पे बहुत कम restrictions है to register your entity, to start a business or even, to rent a space in WeWork or any co-working spaces. वो भी काफी popular है दुबई में. A lot of companies have their Dubai registered entity or UAE registered entities as well. So I think in terms of that, I feel it's entrepreneurship scene is much better here.
And then question for people who might be looking to make a transition as an NRI, right? Like, and you have lived in two countries, which I would say are probably near the top in terms of career opportunities in Asia Pacific region, right? Like Singapore, Dubai. What kind of an advice you might have for people who are looking to explore careers outside of India, especially for people in the tech industry?
So this was one of the observation actually in 2019 itself when I was back in India working for a bank, जहाँ पे I thought कि मेरी growth काफी stagnant हो गई है और अब मैं और नहीं बढ़ पा रहा हूँ यहाँ पे. Then I thought कि probably then I actually had a mentor in that company who is right now in Dubai as an angel investor. So I asked him about his mentorship, what should I do next? What he said was, in general, बाहर जाने का मतलब है लंदन या यूएस जाके काम करना, right? Singapore, Dubai, काफी I would say नजर में नहीं आते कि these are also very good opportunities. And if you do the math, they are way better than all the other places, right? In terms of finances or in terms of whatever, even trying out working outside India, right? So that was the time when I started looking out for ऐसी कौन सी countries हैं, and Singapore and Dubai came at the top back in 2019. But Dubai में उतना scene अच्छा नहीं था. Only financial companies had their some offices here, and startup scene wasn't booming back in 2019 in UAE. So Singapore was the option. And then I got lucky that I got an offer from a good company and it was a no-brainer decision. So I did the transition. Advice I would like to give is, again, now since LinkedIn is booming, people get to know success stories, everyone else's, सबको पता चलता है कि कौन कहाँ जा रहा है, कैसे जा रहा है. तो even Singapore और दुबई भी काफी popular हो गए, right? तो अब competition ज़्यादा हो गया as compared to 2019 or 2020 in getting a job outside India. तो यदि इंडिया के बाहर जॉब चाहिए तो either you do masters from somewhere outside India so that residency वगैरह sorted है, you get some sort of student benefits, या फिर you have some connections back there, your family might have a residency visa or things like that. But apart from that, the other advice that I would like to give is एक बार scene में घुस जाओ through any opportunity, right? Even if you don't like a company but you still got an offer from a region. For example, if you want to move to the UAE or explore this region in terms of your career, but you're not getting a company of your choice, right? It's a second choice or a third choice. I would say still take a call, still join it, because your employability will increase 10x once you are in the region, right? क्योंकि जब ये लोग resume screening वगैरह करते हैं for a subsequent opportunity, you will come at the top, right? But अगर आप उस region में नहीं हो, तो you are just like any other candidate who is applying from any part of the world. So local companies का experience काफी देखा जाता है. So once you get into a company like Dubai could be a good example कि एक बार आ जाओ, work for any kind of company, any kind of offer that you get, and then start looking out for other options within the country. So don't be a lot, choosy around the kind of company you want to work on. अगर आप region को लेके काफी satisfied हो, काफी sure हो कि मेरे को इस region में आगे 3-4 साल बिताने हैं, just take a shot and then take it. That would be my advice. And then do the math key if it making sense for you or not. American dream has become an outdated concept in my personal opinion. I don't think the math works out in USA at all, although I haven't been very close to that region at all, but that's what I think. So I think there are other regions as well. Even I would say when Spotify was booming, Sweden was coming out at the top as a great country to work in. Abhi Germany is also coming really good. Not Germany, actually Amsterdam and Netherlands, where Booking.com has a very big headquarter. A lot of DCs, a lot of NRIs work there. So look for your options. Look at which are the companies that are hiring specifically people from India has a good proportion. They might have greater affinity to shortlist you or might even want to talk to you. Or the last route is also through referrals. They work a lot because as population is growing, aspirants are growing, dreams are growing. So to come out of the crowd, you have to go through these kind of routes: cold emails, cold messages, networks. That's all you can do to get a referral and get through.
So to your point, right, you said Middle East in general is more towards the finance industries and stuff, and now I think things are changing. So can you just talk about the tech scene at Dubai? Like, how is it? How are the future career options as a tech person? Could be anywhere in software engineering or data, but just in general tech.
So I can speak about the cultural differences here. So again, when you look at the local crowd, you don't get a lot of technical people, right? You don't get a lot of people who are very savvy in, say, coding or very savvy in data analytics. So just like Singapore government, UAE government की भी काफी subsidies है, काफी programs है through which they want to promote local talent, right? Emiratization is one of the terms that they use here. Saudi के लिए भी Saudiization करके एक है, different enforcements. Emiratization is I think 5%. Emiratization is 50% getting enforced very soon. So in terms of expats, the career graph would still be really good because अगर आप अभी भी move होते हो, you would still be an early adopter to this scene, right? So when you are already 3 to 4 years into this country, into this region, आप already उस leadership positions के लिए qualify हो जाओगे. And startups most likely don't really look at number of years of experience, but they would look at कि 3-4 साल आपने किसी local company में काम किया है, you grow that company from 1x to 5x, that means you are a good hire actually, right? So as you grow, in answer to your question, as you grow, those kind of opportunities are also growing here, right? Startups are also getting matured slowly, so they'll have more roles opened up at leadership, at middle management, and things like that. So expats still have a edge here because of very lack of local talent and low barriers to entry as well. Few nationalities for which some countries don't really like to hire from those nationalities. Dubai is still open to those nationalities as well. But Indians in general, expats के population में, they are comparatively, they have higher employability in terms of skills. तो अगर हम Indian NRIs की बात करें तो we still have a very good chance to build a career in a country like Middle East or in a region like Middle East.
Go. So, Himanshu, one of the things that also plays a major role in making these kind of decisions is यार किस कंट्री में आपके स्पाउस के लिए किस टाइप की अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिलती है, स्पेशली इफ यू आर मूविंग इन विद you are already married, or maybe you move as a single person and then at some point in time you'll get married and आपकी जो वाइफ है या आपके जो हस्बैंड है वो आपके साथ में मूव करेंगे. So comparing Singapore and Dubai, what has been your experience with respect to opportunities for spouses who usually move on some kind of a dependent visa or a spouse visa, and what what has that experience been for you, and like how would you compare Singapore and Dubai from that perspective?
Absolutely. I think this was one of the major reasons why we wanted to come out of Singapore. There is a drastic difference between the topic that we are talking about here in terms of employability of spouses in general or rights of spouses in general, right? So Singapore में जब मैं move हुआ था 2019 2020 में, there was a thing called letter of consent, LOC के through, if you get a job at any salary, any employer, quota system does not matter, you are, eligible to work. Then things changed, and then Singapore started putting up a different criteria कि you have to get your own employment pass, right, which has to go through point system or whatever. So in my case as well, my spouse, she was working initially on the letter of consent, but then the things changed, and then she had a very hard time finding a job out there. Like for 18 months, she got recruiter calls, she even got into some of the interviews, but nothing really clicked, right? Because as we know, job market was in general dying in Singapore. So spouses के लिए तो proportionately और कम हो जाता है, right? But Dubai, it's not that tough, right? Because Dubai in general ऐसा देखा जाता है अभी भी कि it's a job seekers country, right? So having said that, jobs industry अच्छी है यहाँ पे, but फिर पे नहीं मिलता उतना ज्यादा, right? So if I talk about 0 to 10,000 dirhams या फिर 0 to 8,000 dirhams की जो salary ranges है, इसमें बहुत ज्यादा supply है और बहुत ज्यादा demand है, right? So this was one of the observations, and also it got validated to some of the people who are staying in Dubai for long years, is that कि because supply और demand इतनी ज्यादा है तो इसमें rotation भी बहुत ज्यादा होता है, right? जिससे supply demand maintain हो रही है. But how is it connected to spouses is that spouses also in some sense get into the same pool, right? So at the worst case scenario, you will get a job in that range, right? And then you can build up on, building your career into probably the same profile, similar profile, look for opportunities. तो एक initial आपको head start मिल जाता है कि आपको एक local experience, you start building up on it.
Right.
So in the next interview, then you have something on a resume कि मैंने दुबई या यूएई में 1.5 साल 2 साल काम कर रखा है इन profiles पे. You get exposure to sales, client interaction, आपको cultural complexities समझ में आने लग जाती है. So those kind of things help a lot in countries like here. जहाँ पर residency rights की बात है, things like golden visa. So if some individual is getting golden visa, their family gets a golden visa automatically. Not like Singapore where PR, अगर आप family की तरह apply नहीं कर रहे हो, so you need to file separately or whatever. तो वो सारी benefits भी है यहाँ पे. उसको लेके family को लेके भी आप parents को बहुत easily ला सकते हो. There is very minimum salary required, जो usually होती है. So yeah, in terms of if you're talking about optimizing as a couple, as a family, it still make a lot of sense to do this movement Singapore to Dubai. But India फिर equation के बाहर है, because India में तो और easy है किसी के लिए भी job खोजना at any salary, I would say, if I look at any salaries. But Singapore Dubai compare करोगे तो बहुत बड़ा reason है, हमारे लिए भी था, and it worked out after coming to Dubai. She finally got a job and she's working right now. तो अगर उस चीज पे optimize करना चाहते हो तो this could be a no-brainer, I would say.
And then another question which we probably should have asked you earlier is, for people who might be evaluating opportunities either in Singapore or in Dubai, what is a good salary that will allow them to live a decent, comfortable life and also be able to save to an extent where the math works out for them and they are able to make a decision, we can leave the job in India and we can move to either of these countries.
And this is only for like tech folks.
Yeah.
Minimum बता दो sir. Good salary I know is a minimum salary.
Yeah.
तो टेक फोक्स के लिए आई वुड से 8 से 10 साल एक्सपीरियंस यदि है, which is probably the bucket in which all of us fall into, or most of the listeners would fall into. 8 से 10 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है, so a good salary which could make a very good case for a move to Dubai. It could be easily between, I would say, 25 to 30,000 dirhams. अगर मिल रहा है 25,000 मिनिमम मिल रहा है, you can still make a very good case by maybe cutting down a bit on your rent or choosing a cheaper area to stay in. Again, multiple areas of Dubai में कहीं भी रह सकते हो, depending on your budget, depending on your, what you want to optimize on. तो 25,000 यदि मिल रहा है 8 साल या 10 साल के एक्सपीरियंस में minimum, start building a case on top of it. उसके बाद you can look for anything else that the company is providing. एंड 30,000 तक मिल गया तो बहुत ही अच्छा। दिस इज सिंगल अर्नर आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट। अगर आप स्पाउस के साथ आ रहे हो तो डेफिनेटली वो एड अप हो जाएगा एंड इट विल बी अ बोनस फॉर यू गाइस।
Got it. And what would you say would be an equivalent number for Singapore?
25,000 पे आई वुड से 10,000, 10 से 12,000 SGD a month. Like this is take home I'm talking about, including bonuses
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, 10 से 12,000 यदि मंथली है तो इक्विवेलेंट 25 से 30,000 लगभग मान सकते हो।
Got it. Awesome. I think then we'll move towards wrapping it up. And one of the most important questions that we ask all of our guests is one, whether they have thought about reaching the stage of financial independence, early retirement. And a big part of reaching that stage is to accumulate enough money where you don't need to work for money anymore, essentially, right? So
Yes.
जनरली लोगों के माइंड में एक नंबर होता है कि यार इतना पैसा बना लिया तो उसके बाद काम करे या ना करे doesn't really matter. Have you done those
Right.
sort of calculations for yourself, and broadly, like what does that number look like for you?
So I haven't done that calculation for myself because I feel उसका जो मैथ है वो दिन भर चेंज होता रहता है, राइट? तो मैं वो टेम्परेरी मैथ करना ही नहीं चाह रहा हूँ। इंस्टेड व्हाट आई एम एक्चुअली थिंकिंग ऑन इज फिक्सिंग अप और थिंकिंग अबाउट एन एज आफ्टर विच आई डोंट वांट टू वर्क।
Okay.
अब उस एज तक जितना एक्यूमुलेट हो गया, I'll work hard to make sure I fulfill whatever obligations I have or whatever small investments I want to make. जिसमें real estate investment one of the big ones है।
Right.
So that age for me is 45. Like I want to work till 45 years of age. After which I'm not saying I won't work, but I won't work for money. Right? Me and my spouse, we have some kind of a thought, some kind of a dream ki we want to give back to the society. So we might even join, an administrator post at an NGO or places where that gives you more happiness than just a transaction, right? So 45 के बाद we are thinking of moving towards that direction where हम पैकेज पे ऑप्टिमाइज नहीं करेंगे बट सेटिस्फैक्शन या हैप्पीनेस पे ऑप्टिमाइज करेंगे। और 45 तक जो अक्यूमुलेट हो गया आई वुड से।
तो कुछ नया पर्सपेक्टिव दिया है फायर।
I think we usually get generally सब 10 करोड़
20 करोड़
मेरे में दैट डज नॉट सेल विथ मी, क्योंकि 10 करोड़ अभी बोल रहे हो सकता है 5 साल बाद वो सही भी नहीं हो। इन्फ्लेशन इतना ज्यादा बढ़ जाएगा, इट्स ऑल प्रेडिक्शंस, राइट?
राइट।
तो एक एज तक मैं सोचने की कोशिश करता हूँ कि इस एज तक काम करेंगे एंड इस एज तक ऑप्टिमाइज कर लो जितना भी करना है, जितना भी एक्सपोनेंशियल ग्रोथ चाहिए ये वो, एंड देन आफ्टर दैट जस्ट स्टार्ट वर्किंग ऑन समथिंग दैट इवन एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप फॉर दैट मैटर।
Why not? And I think another thing that I have recently started thinking about is the level of technology and automation that we are seeing in the world now, or just speed se change manage, like the way of doing business is changing so rapidly. I feel like there will come a time very soon when 45 will basically be the terminal age of your career as a corporate employee, right? I am a strong believer in the fact कि आने वाले कुछ सालों में 45 के ऊपर आप चाह के भी काम कर नहीं पाओगे, because you will be replaced by somebody who's younger, smarter, faster, more tech savvy than you are. So I think that's a very interesting thing to have in mind, is sort of coupling your fire dreams with an age specifically, and also thinking about the kind of life and the kind of experience you want to have after that. It's not just the money कि यार इतना पैसा बैंक में आ गया तो बस बैठ जाएंगे अपन दिन भर नेटफ्लिक्स।
एब्सोल्युटली,
दैट्स नॉट
एब्सोल्युटली। एंड ये थॉट एक्चुअली अभी का नहीं है, काफी पुराना है। आई हैड अ फ्रेंड बैक इन द बैंक आई वाज वर्किंग ऑन इन इंडिया, उसका फायर एज था 35। ही वाज लाइक कि मेरे को 35 के बाद काम नहीं करना है, एंड वो ये तब बोल रहा था व्हेन ही वाज ऑलरेडी अ वीपी इन द बैंक, राइट? मेरे बैच का था, आई वाज स्टिल एन एसोसिएट और जस्ट बिकेम एन एसोसिएट एंड ही गॉट टू अ वीपी। और अगर वो 2 साल और टिक जाता उस बैंक में, ही माइट हैव बिकम एन एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर एट एन एज ऑफ 32 आई वुड से। तो अगर आप किसी इंडिया के वन ऑफ द टॉप मोस्ट बैंक्स में, लाइक मल्टीनेशनल बैंक्स के इंडिया ऑफिस में आप अगर ईडी हो 33 की एज पे, तो 35 पे रिटायरमेंट सोचना इज नॉट अ बिग डील। तो दैट वाज व्हेन आई थॉट कि भाई 35 तो नहीं हो पाएगा, बट आई फील 45 इज समथिंग दैट आई कैन टारगेट फॉर। एंड प्लस आई एम दैट काइंड ऑफ पर्सन जो कि वेला नहीं बैठ सकता, आई नीड समथिंग टू वर्क ऑन, राइट? अदरवाइज आई माइट फील फ्रस्ट्रेटेड। तो काम नहीं करना, ये तो सोचना ही नहीं है, दूसरी तरह का काम करना is what I think about.
I think that's a great note to sort of conclude this episode on.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Himanshu, for
Thank
taking
you.
time today. I think we learned a lot. Lots of good perspectives for people who are living in Singapore and Dubai, and for people who are living in India and maybe thinking about exploring opportunities outside. I think काफी कुछ सीखने को मिला, काफी specific details जानने को मिली जो generally you don't really find out. Online research पे उतना नहीं मिल पाता है compared to somebody who
Absolutely.
lived that life and has been on the
Yeah.
ground and
My pleasure.
felt that.
Yeah.
Thanks so
My
much.
pleasure, guys.
Thank you to our
Thank you.
audiences as always for listening in. We'll be back very soon with another awesome episode of Chai Pe Kharcha, and see you soon. Take care.